Hello, everyone. It's a little bit after 7, so I think we'll start the hearing now. Hello, my name is Sean Holland. I'm the project manager for the proposed Route 1 Resurfacing project in Foxboro, which is being presented here tonight. I work in the project management section at the Massachusetts Department of Transportation Highway Division headquarters in Boston. Before we begin the hearing, I want to introduce Michael McNutt. He's a MassDOT employee. He will be the Zoom producer for this hearing. Michael will provide you with some instructions how to use Zoom and discuss some public meeting notice procedures that we need to follow tonight. Michael?
Thank you, Sean. And again, welcome to this public meeting. At this time, I just want to go over some basic Zoom controls. So this would be a good time to familiarize yourself with the software. The microphone at the bottom of your screen, the drop-down menu to check your microphone and speakers. You notice there is a Q&A box at the bottom. The Q&A box is to ask questions and share comments. You'll also notice that there's a little hand, and the hand is to raise your hand for the Q&A. So put your hand up. And if you are unable to access the internet or having technical problems, please call into the meeting and I'll give you the number. It's 833-548-0276. And the webinar ID is 862-2770-4751. Also, if you're having technical problems, Zoom has a customer support number that you could utilize, and I'll give you that number, which is 1-888-799-9666. And just one last note, the closed captioning is being automatically generated by Zoom. It's about 90% accurate or 95% accurate. It's close, but it's not perfect. Next. So this slide is basically has to do with a public meeting notice. And I'll just read this slide out to you. It's pretty self-explanatory. This virtual public meeting will be recorded. The Massachusetts Department of Transportation may choose to retain and distribute the video, still images, audio, and/or chat transcripts. By continuing attendance with this virtual public meeting, you're consenting to participate in a recorded event. All recordings and chat transcripts will be considered a public record. If you're not comfortable being recorded, please turn off your camera, keep your microphone muted, and refrain from chatting in the transcript box. Otherwise, you may choose to excuse yourself from the meeting. And just some other important notes. Your microphone and web camera are automatically disabled upon entering the meeting. The meeting will be open to questions and answers at the end of the presentation. Please take time to respond to our survey at the end of the presentation. Your feedback is important to us. And just one last note on this here at the bottom, all questions and comments are welcome and appreciated. However, we do request that you refrain from any disrespectful comments. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to our project manager, Sean.
Thank you, Michael. Sorry about that. I have my mute on. Let me just go a little bit over tonight's agenda. The project we're presenting here tonight is the Route 1 Resurfacing Related Improvements Project. MassDOT has hired the design engineering firm of VHB, which is Vanessa Hagen Breslin, to help us design this project. The project is currently at the 25% design stage. The goal is to complete design, permitting, and right-of-way acquisition so the project can be ready to advertise in late 2023 with construction beginning in spring 24. Right now, the estimated construction cost is roughly $6.9 million. 80% of that cost would be funded with federal funds and the remaining 20% with state funds. The purpose of MassDOT holding public hearings like this is to provide the public with notice and information concerning MassDOT construction projects. It affords residents, businesses, and local officials an opportunity to be heard on any proposed project. At the same time, The hearing affords the Commonwealth an opportunity to receive information that may be of value to us in making our final decision as to what design should be advanced for development. During this presentation, we will explain the purpose of the hearing, provide an overview of the right-of-way procedures, and provide a detailed description and presentation of the project. Finally, we will explain how you can submit your comments and questions about this project to us, and these questions and comments will be included in the official transcript of this tonight's public hearing. A handout has been prepared and posted on the MassDOT website. If you haven't downloaded that handout, you can retrieve it now or later at your convenience. You may find that this handout is useful to you in understanding a little bit more about the project and how to submit comments to us. Let's see the next slide, please. Again, here's the project team presenting the project tonight. Myself, I'm the project manager for MassDOT. We have Mike Manette, he's a MassDOT employee who's producing tonight's public hearing. We have Derek Roma, he's from our state right-of-way section. We also have the design consultant who works for MassDOT and help us assisting with this design. We have Denise Cardoz, we have Valerie Linhart, and we have Tracy Linhart. Just a little bit about the public outreach for this project. Notice of this public hearing was requested for publication in 2 newspapers. The Foxboro Reporter on October 28th and November 4th, and the Sun Chronicle on October 21st and 28th. We've also prepared a public hearing notice, a flyer, and a project handout. And we try to post, and we did post those to the MassDOT website and calendar events. We've also sent copies of them to the town of Foxboro, who I believe posted on their town website. And we also send the hearing flyer and project handout to various people at the local, regional, state, and federal level that we normally notify of all public hearings, so they're aware of it also. I'll just tell a little bit about the project limits. The project begins at the Wyndham Town Line and continues north up to approximately 2.8 miles to the Walpole Town Line. Within these project limits, there are 8 intersections shown in the orange color there. You see the round circles. And in the round circles, there are little S, and those are the ones that actually have signalized. Those are signalized intersections with traffic signals there. So why was this project initiated? The Route 1 resurfacing project, several sections of Route 1 within the Foxboro town limits have pavement conditions identified as being poor to actually fair conditions. As such, MassDOT decided to add this to what we call our statewide preservation program. The project goals of this project at the beginning was to improve the pavement conditions of Route 1. As you can see, the pavement's in pretty tough shape there. The secondary goal, as we're out there doing the pavement design, was to address any roadway deficiencies that we could incorporate into this resurfacing project. How did we get here? Again, as the project was originally initiated in 2017, due to the fair and poor conditions of the roadway pavement, and it was actually deteriorating a little bit as the years went by. We initiated a design contract with VHB to help us prepare the design plans for this project. VHB went out and did a roadway safety audit. They came up with various conceptual designs. They submitted a pre-25% design, and finally they submitted a 25% design. We've been going through that 25% design for a little while, and there was some internal discussions about changing some design elements. And now we finally have a design plan, 25% design plan that we want to present to you tonight, and try to get any comments from you that you may have on the project. What we want to accomplish. Again, this project primarily started as a roadway resurfacing project to address the deficient roadway conditions. The secondary goal is to address any identified deficiencies. So as such, the specific proposed improvements include mill and overlay resurfacing in Route 1, We're going to conduct some traffic signal improvements. We're also going to conduct some pedestrian facility improvements. We're going to replace some old guardrail that doesn't meet current design standards. And we're going to conduct some minor drainage improvements. At this point, I'd like to hand our presentation over to Valerie from VHB, and she'll present a detailed presentation of the project and get a little more detail about the project improvements. Valerie?
Thank you, Sean. Part of the project includes upgrades to the traffic signal along the corridor. Some of these improvements include the installation of a signalized mid-block pedestrian crossing just south of the Main Street East Street intersection, replacing existing pedestrian signal heads to countdown units, updating any pedestrian push buttons to meet ADA compliance, modifying the existing video detection zones to provide for bike detection in the shoulders, reestablishing coordination along the corridor to improve traffic flow. Now Denise will inform you about the pedestrian improvements of the project.
One of the proposed pedestrian improvements of the project is providing sidewalk on the east side of Route 1 at the southern end of the project at the State Police Barracks, through the Main and East Street intersection to the Dunkin' Donuts property. In addition, non-ADA compliant pedestrian curb ramps will be reconstructed, and sidewalks that are non-compliant or in poor condition will also be reconstructed. Improvements to the Main and East Street intersection include installing a high-intensity activated crosswalk, pedestrian beacon, and pedestrian curb ramps for a new crossing at the intersection, which Val will talk about later in this presentation. In addition, on the east side of Route 1, a new sidewalk will be constructed starting at the State Police Barracks and ending past the Dunkin' Donuts property. As stated previously, the new sidewalk will continue approximately a quarter mile north from the police barracks just past the Dunkin' Donuts property.
How does a hawk work? Typically, a hawk signal is dark for the vehicles and shows a raised hand for the pedestrians. When the pedestrian activates the signal or hits the push button, as long as it hasn't just been previously activated, the signal will immediately respond. Starting to flash yellow to drivers for a few seconds to warn drivers the signal has been activated. Next, the signal goes to a steady yellow or a solid yellow for a few seconds to warn drivers that they're about to be stopped. Next, the signal goes steady or solid red while the pedestrian signal head displays the walk indication or the man. After the walk, the signal goes into a flashing or wigwag red while the pedestrian sees the flash and don't walk hand in the countdown display. Lastly, the signal goes back to being dark. The next slide will show an animation of just what I verbally said. This is a picture of a similar Mass DOT project. This roadway is also a 4-lane cross section. Now back to Denise.
Proposed improvements to the North Street intersection are to provide crossings across all 4 legs of the intersection, as well as ADA compliant pedestrian curb ramps and minor modifications to the pedestrian traffic signals for the new crossings.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Derek Roma, and I'm here representing the Right-of-Way Bureau at Mass DOT. The Right-of-Way Bureau is responsible for acquiring all necessary rights in private and public land for the design, construction, and implementation of this project. Affected property owners will be contacted by personnel from the Right-of-Way Bureau and/or consultants representing Mass DOT. The procedures used must comply with state and federal regulations governing the acquisition process. The current design plan indicates that fee takings and permanent easements may be required, and other areas may also require temporary construction easements. Affected property owners' rights are protected under Massachusetts general laws, primarily Chapter 79. And if a project is receiving federal funds, then the property owner's rights are further defined under Title III of the Real Property Acts of 1970 as amended. I'll be available to answer any general questions regarding the right-of-way process, the open forum. Thank you.
What are the environmental, cultural, resource, and community impacts? This project is mainly focused on a roadway preservation project, but due to the minor drainage alterations at the head walls, environmental permitting will be required. From the permitting perspective, this project will comply with the Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act, the National Environmental Policy Act, Section 106 for historic and cultural resources, and outstanding resource water to repair existing head walls. Therefore, the project will require submitting an individual Section 401 water quality certification to the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection. In addition to these policies, a notice of intent application will be submitted to the Foxboro Conservation Commission at a later date. What is the construction approach? Construction is expected to start in the spring of 2024 and last approximately 12 months. During construction, pedestrian, bicycle, and motor vehicle access will be maintained. A minimum of 1 lane in each direction will be maintained during off-peak hours. If implemented, roadway closures and detours will be limited to short durations, and night work will be considered for limited construction activities.
Thank you, Valerie. Thank you, Denise. The next steps. Right now, as we've mentioned, we're at the 25% design stage. And what we want to do tonight is present the plans to you, explain them to you. And we'd like to hear any comments, ideas, suggestions you may have that possibly we can incorporate them into 25% design if appropriate and feasible. After tonight's public hearing and any comments received, we'll proceed to 75% design, 100% and final PS&E. We'll also need to secure the right-of-way and any environmental permits. And finally, we'll get to project advertisement and construction in 2023 and 2024. How we would keep you informed. At any time during the design process, from now up into construction, MassDOT welcomes any public comments you may have, any ideas, any suggestions. And the way to do that is there's several different ways, actually. One, you can submit them by mail to Acting Chief Engineer Kerry LaValle. And the other way, you can send them by email. We have an email address there, MassDOT Project Management. And preference would be at this point to send it by email. The mail's been a little bit tough to handle these days with the closing of a lot of the state offices. So if you could, send in your comments and questions and inquiries by email would be the best. Okay. Before we open up for any question or discussion, we first like to ask if there are any elected officials present tonight who would like to speak or ask a question. If they could let us know now. If there are none, then what happened we would do, we open it up to the general public. So at this time, I'd like to ask, are there any elected officials in the audience who has a question or want to make a comment to raise your hand, and we can do that at this time.
I don't see any hands up. Maybe just give people a moment, but I don't see any hands up.
Okay. All right, well, if there is an elected official, they don't want to raise your hand now and ask a question or comment, you can do that anytime during the open forum. So at this point, I open up to anybody who has a question or comment or idea or suggestion to raise your hand, and we'll try to answer them as much as we could.
Okay, we have one hand up from Dawn Chase. I'm going to unmute you so you can ask your question. Just one moment. Dawn, are you there?
Can you
Dawn,
hear me now?
yes, I can hear you.
All right. My question is, The intersection of East Street, Main Street, and Route 1, you are showing a number of crosswalks there. The first question is on the crosswalk across Route 1, just south of that intersection. Is that going to have the hawk set up there? Right there, yes.
Yes, that's the location where the hawk will be
All right, so here's my concern is, I mean, my business has been there for 35 years and I don't know, I honestly do not know what the speed limit is along there, but I do know that people generally travel 55 miles an hour or more along that route. And I have a hard time believing that people are going to pay attention to that setup for a crosswalk, that I just see danger all the way around. The other concern that I have, and I can understand it, is the intersection of East Street. By fixing that paving, which is a wonderful idea, it's also going to make people go even faster around that from Route 1 south onto East Street. As it is now, they fly along there, and there have been a number of rollovers because of that. But I guess that's my concern is the safety issue of crosswalks in that area. What's your reasoning for crosswalks right there?
And Valerie, Denise talked about that. We did a roadway safety audit that includes this intersection.
The roadway safety audit did not include this intersection.
Okay.
I did review the crash data at the time of the road safety audit. This location was not a high crash location. It actually fell underneath the statewide crash average.
Right, which is possible. But as I said, if these crosswalks are put in there and the road is improved, which it should be improved, but the crosswalks, I just see, I don't know, I just see a lot of problems there. I just can't believe there's going to be a crosswalk right across Route 1. For what reason? There's no reason for it.
Well,
There's no,
my
nobody
name's
walks
Rich
along
Alder
Route
from
1.
Let's see if I can shed some light on this. I'm from the District 5 office, MassDOT, and we deliberated over this quite a bit. But the overwhelming concern was that, as you can see there on the top of the screen, it's residential. I mean, it's residential just about everywhere, but and Dunkin' Donuts is definitely a destination. And there are some other destinations, you know, retail facilities, et cetera, on Route 1 going north. So, and since there is a history of, there have been accidents there, and you know, we know there's pedestrians crossing, so we wanted to accommodate the pedestrians with some type of safety, you know, apparatus within the scope of the project. The intersection itself does not warrant a full traffic signal right now. So short of that, we wanted to put something in there, and we use these hawk signals on 4-lane divided roadways. As you saw, we had a picture, and they do work. People have to respect that, you know, they have to wait for the signals to go through their cycle, and the drivers, and the visibility should be adequate because it's a very straight roadway. There isn't a lot of elevation there.
Yep.
So after a lot of deliberation, we felt that it would be a good addition to the roadway, and it really can only help, you know, somebody to get across the street where right now there's nothing to help them get across the street.
Yeah, and to add on to what Rich and Valerie said, you know, we did look long and hard at this location, and the existing configuration of the intersection doesn't allow for the warrant of a traffic signal. And there is sort of a desire from what we heard for pedestrians to cross. And, you know, the next signal up is Pine Street. So it was kind of a lot to ask people to walk all the way up to Pine Street to cross to come back.
Will, can somebody answer what is the speed limit along that corridor there?
The posted speed, which is just south, which is a little bit south of here, probably about 400 feet, is actually posted for 45 miles an hour. Heading in northbound direction.
Okay.
Southbound, I do believe is also 45 at this point.
Well, if this Hawk setup makes the traffic slow to 45 miles an hour, I'll be very happy. So good luck.
Well, actually, you know, the Hawk signal in itself will, you know, function as it's intended, but overall, you know, speeding is a universal problem, and enforcement is really the only really, you know, guaranteed way to stop people from speeding. But as you know, that's applied when it's possible to. To address your second question about new pavement enticing people to drive faster. Well, you know, we have to maintain the pavement. We have to keep it in adequate condition. So again, it goes back to enforcement, whether people drive recklessly, whether they drive, you know,
Right.
within the limits of the law. But, you know,
No, Rich, I
we just need
understand
to
that.
provide a surface. You know, we just need to provide a surface that's good.
I get that, and I appreciate that because the road does need it, and that exit onto East Street definitely needs improvement. So that's all. You addressed my questions. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I just want to apologize. I think, Rich, I might have overlooked you in the presentation. Rich Oliver is from our District 5 office out of Taunton. They represent Foxboro and a lot of other communities in southeastern Mass. So I apologize, Rich, if I missed your introduction.
No offense taken, Sean.
Okay.
All right, we have some other hands up. Jamie, I'm gonna unmute you. You have your hand up. You'll be able to talk. Can you speak?
Good evening.
Good, okay, great.
All right, thank you. We had a couple of questions. I have a client who owns the Gulf gas station at the corner of North Street and Route 1. And we reviewed the plans, and we have a couple of questions that we'd like for the designers or possibly MassDOT to address. The first thing is we've noticed that they're modifying the curb cut that's closest to the intersection. And we wanted to talk to them about whether they had taken into consideration the fuel trucks that need to access into the site to unload fuel. If they would like to take a look at the turning radius templates that they've done for that. We haven't run this through our template system yet, but it does look like it's going to be a pretty tight scenario to weave in and out. Since it appears they're cutting about 15 feet off of our existing curb cut. The second question that we have is regarding the landscape island on the inside of our lot on the corner. It's best shown, actually you can see it right on the plan that you have up. In the area that's in brown, right now the majority of that is paved. That is on most of it is on our property. We're wondering what the intention is there. It looks like the intention is to maybe get rid of the pavement and landscape it. If that is the intention, we want to bring to your attention that that is used at times for customer parking. It's asphalted on both sides of that landscape island, and vehicles do park there from time to time. And I think from that, for us, if we can get clarification on the curb cut and on that landscape island and fuel trucks being able to get in and out, that would address our immediate concerns for now.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that at this point, these plans are very preliminary, and we would certainly work with you to understand the operations of the business and to see where you need trucks to come in and out and maneuver around.
It'd be helpful if you could put those questions and concerns in writing, and you could send it to us, and we'll be glad to look at it and get back to you and provide a response. So again, tonight did 25% design. So a lot of times we won't have the answers to all your questions and concerns, but clearly we'll look into them and get back to you.
Right, we
Take over
did
seats.
send an email to Michael McNutt tonight, just outlining a couple of broad questions.
It
of our
was interesting.
concerns.
When I got back from dinner.
So
I
I'm
walked
guessing
around
that will
and
start
it didn't
the
hurt at all.
discussion back and
The
forth.
tequila, the fucking tequila. That's all.
Michael can forward those to me and we'll make sure appropriate people look at them.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Looking at the hands, I don't see any hands up. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, so we got some hands up. We'll start, Christopher Gallagher. I'm gonna unmute you and you can ask your question. Can you
unmute? There we go.
Okay, great. Okay.
Just Chris Gallagher, I'm the DPW director in Foxboro. Just a couple questions. Do you have an anticipated, I know it's early on, but length of construction for this? Just thinking on behalf of our one of our large customers on Route 1. Typically they have preseason games, early to mid-August, and just thinking about traffic impacts on that behalf of the town.
Rich, I think we'll have to talk to the district and the district permit people, and clearly we don't interfere with the stadium events, so it should be a one-year construction season, but when we start and end, it might start before the Patriots season starts, and we may put that on September to November. I'm not sure, but maybe Rich, you have a little bit more information on that.
Yeah, Chris, for the stadium, we have a couple of very standard passages we put in our special provisions for the contractor to be aware of stadium events and to coordinate with MassDOT, the state police, and the stadium to shut down their work operations, at an appropriate time and to start it up at an appropriate time. So anytime we're dealing with anything, even close to Foxboro or even on the interstates, we have this in our special provisions for the contractor to know.
I've dealt with that a couple of times, Rich, somewhat. I'm familiar with it.
Sure.
Yeah, just obviously everybody's aware of that. And I saw it in the notes somewhere that's, coordination with stadium events will be done. So
Right.
Just want to make sure that's on the list,
Right.
once we get towards August as a priority for the town, not only for Route 1 and the stadium, but for the town itself. Anything that backs up from Route 1, has a pretty big impact on the rest of Foxborough. So we're cognizant of that.
Sure.
I don't see anything on bike lanes. Is it safe to say that we're skipping bike lanes on this project?
Yeah, that's another thing that we spent a lot of time deliberating in the design, up to the 25% design. And right now we have 10-foot shoulders predominant along the corridor, except when you get to the intersections, they narrow down just because we have turn lanes and, signals and everything. And so the shoulders narrow. We thought about using the 10-foot shoulders, part of it as for bike accommodations, but that would require us to paint, buffer strips along the whole corridor in both directions in the shoulder. And also once we get to the intersections where the shoulders basically go down to 1 or 2 feet, then that would end and they'd be right back into the roadway, or, they'd be in the travel lanes because the shoulder is reduced. And there are a lot of problems with doing that. So we don't have bicycle accommodations improvements in this project. However, for a couple of years now, MassDOT has been studying the whole Route 1 corridor from the Rhode Island line all the way up to Norwood. And to see what we can do, because it's a high volume, high speed roadway, most of it. A lot going on, a lot of development. And so based on our design policies, the bicycle accommodations need to be either on the road and buffered, with an offset buffer strip, or they need to be off the road completely, like in a shared use path or some, individual facility. So MassDOT is currently studying this, and it's a long process. So our plan is to, in future projects, to incorporate bicycle facilities that are going to be safe and, make sense in the context of the various, parts of Route 1 in the city, in the towns that it goes through, which is several. So we did deliberate on it a lot, but right now our focus is to, fix the roadway and improve pedestrian accommodations and safety where we can within this, within the scope of this project.
Okay. I'm not advocating on behalf of them. I'm just clarifying that it's not at this time planned in this project.
Yeah, well, that's the long answer to a short question.
That's right. Certainly at anything above 45 miles an hour, you add bike lanes in, and there's some safety factors that need to be taken into account. So
Yeah.
just wanted to clarify that. I didn't see them as part of this. I just wanted to confirm that.
Sure.
If we have water mains out on Route 1, if we need to upgrade any utilities prior to any 5-year moratoriums being in place once this project's complete, is that work that we should plan for 2022, 2023, so that we can be flowable fill and
Yeah,
temporary paved and off the road prior to 2024?
yeah, that's exactly right. You should try to get it done before we break ground for this, which is, like Sean said, spring of 24 is probably when they're going to mobilize.
Okay.
But yeah, that work should definitely be initiated as soon as possible, right?
Okay. And then just, I guess 22 more. At this point, 25% design, do you have a plan that shows the impacted properties for Foxboro that could be shared with the property owners along Route 1? Or are we not there yet?
Well, we do have right-of-way plans. What we could do is give the town the right-of-way plans and the 25 design plans. And if you're willing to put them on the town website so everybody can see them, that'd be great. But we do have plans that people can take a look at.
Yeah, we do have, there is a Route 1 economic development or business collaborative in town that we could share through that group to just make sure everybody's aware of the project and any impacts to their properties. I realize you guys are going to be reaching out to any impacted properties, but it may be a way for us to help spread the project and spread the word that this is going on in the next few years.
Okay.
I think that's it for me.
Thank you. Appreciate the comments.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. We have a hand up from Gregory. I'm gonna unmute you so you can speak.
All right, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, I own Pine Brook Office Park located at 124 Washington Street, right next to Dunkin' Donuts. And a couple questions. I couldn't tell from the drawings what exactly is going on in front of my building with, it looks like there's striping that is going to kind of separate the north and southbound, but I couldn't detect if there's going to be like striking in the pavement itself, or is it just paint? That was my first question.
Is that where the hawk signal is? We have that slide.
So I'm just a little bit further north, just north of Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, okay.
I believe that looks like there's a little green strip. And I am to the, just a little bit further north is my entry.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think we have a slide on that. Do we have one?
It says proposed lumen seed I saw pop up as the green area, just to behind the proposed sidewalk.
Yes.
There, I think, so your property is sort of just where it says end proposed sidewalk, just north of that?
Yes, yep, there's a proposed sidewalk, which I'm very excited about. 'Cause actually, my tenants in my office building, I actually built a pathway through the woods to get to Dunkin' Donuts. So I think that will be a valuable thing. But one point of information, and I wasn't sure if there's a land taking where that sidewalk is going, because I actually have a billboard sign that's being installed at the beginning of December. That is located between my building, basically where that beautiful autumn orange tree is right now.
Yeah, so to sort of answer your question, there's not going to be a whole lot of change in front of your property other than just that sidewalk. So the roadway will be repaved and restriped pretty much as it is in front. So it's gonna, as kind of as it looks today, it'll look in the future for striping. We
Okay.
can look into where I don't believe there's any property taking for that property. But we can get back to you on that if you submit a question.
Okay. And then my second question pertains to the intersection of Pine Street and Route 1. Right now, there is a left-hand turn, but there's a no U-turn at that intersection. And I didn't know, is there any work being done to that signalization at Pine Street in Route 1?
We are doing some signal work, but it's really limited to updating pedestrian accommodations here. Trying to retime it a little bit to run a little more efficiently and fix any detection issues if there are any out here. We were not planning on rephasing it or changing that requirement.
So I can put in one of my comments about allowing for a U-turn at that intersection.
You can, I just looked at, brought up the phasing of it. The reason there's no U-turns allowed is because coming off of Pine Street, the right turn movement is actually on while that left-hand movement's on. So to allow a U-turn actually institutes a conflict though. Because a U-turner could actually drive into the car taking the right turn onto Washington Street South.
Right, that was my question, if they were gonna have a right turn arrow as you were trying to head south from Pine Street. And I guess the question that you answered my question, there's no upgrades to that intersection.
Correct. I can verify, but it looks like there is a right turn head indication for that southbound movement. Or for that movement leaving Pine Street.
But right now, it's just a green light and you can take a right on a red light at that intersection.
Okay, I'll have to look into it. So please submit a question.
Okay, I'll be glad to do that. That was it. Those are my two questions. And just to verify that there isn't going to be additional land taking from my property would be helpful as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
It's helpful for us a lot of times to get these questions and comments in writing, so we make sure we know what you're asking, what your concerns are, and then we can get back to you. So we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any more hands up. Let me check the Q&A box. Has anyone, no one's typed in any questions. Does anyone have any final questions?
Nothing.
Oh, we have a question, Christopher Gallagher.
Sure, just will this presentation be posted somewhere that we could also share along with any design plans that we get at this point?
Yeah, we'll be doing a recording of tonight's presentation, and within the next day or two, I'll get a transcript. So we need to make sure we edit that. It'd be closed captioning. And then we'll post it on our website. And I think it'd be on YouTube. So I think there's a way we can share that with you. I know we did that the last project we had in New Bedford. So yes, this will be available on our website, and I'll try to give you a copy also. So you can put it on the town website if you want.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. It's helpful if people couldn't make it tonight, at least they can go and see what the, what the presentation was all about and submit questions and comments later on.
And is the deadline, I think I saw 10 days from this public hearing to submit questions? Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's the goal we like to have. I mean, if they come in a little bit later, that's no problem. I mean, sometimes things takes a little while, get through the mail. If you send it by mail, that's why it's quicker if you do it by email. And it takes a little while before we go through the transcript and everything. So yeah, it's 10 days to a little bit longer to put in an official transcript. But anytime people have questions and comments after that, we'll get back to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Chris.
Okay, with that, I don't see any additional hands, so I think we're all set for the question and answer phase. So hand it back to you, Sean.
Okay, if there are no questions or comments, again, I just want to thank everybody for taking time tonight to attend this hearing. And again, if you have any questions or comments that you think about when you go home tonight, send them to us. And if you did provide any comments tonight, it'd be great if you can put those in writing and email them to us so we make sure we, like I said, understand what your question comments were and we can get back to you. So again, we appreciate you all coming tonight. And again, this is a work in progress. We welcome your comments as we go along through the design process right up to construction. So you have that contact information on that slide that we presented earlier. So again, we appreciate you taking the time out tonight and showing interest in this project, which we think would be a great project for the town and for the region. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll stay on a little bit longer if anyone wants to stay on with us.
You can stay on for another 5 minutes or so.
5 minutes is all, okay.
Can you go back to the slide with how to ask a question? The contact information one? Yeah, just leave that up for people so they can write that down.
Yeah. So you're like 5 more minutes, Michael?
Yeah, well, I mean, excuse me, the attendee list is dwindling. I don't think we're going to have any additional comments. So if you want to stay till exactly 8, we can do that. If you want to call it, I mean,
I think we could probably call it. I mean, just another 5 minutes, so it's really not going to make much of a difference.
Yeah, I mean, we're just, people are just there's only three attendees, so I'll stop the recording and the meeting.
All right, well, declare this public hearing officially closed. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.